Have you ever stood next to someone who seems friendly, says all the right words, smiles on cue, but deep inside, something doesn't sit right? It's that subtle discomfort, an instinct, a quiet warning from your subconscious whispering, this person doesn't truly wish you well. Carl Jung, one of the deepest thinkers on human nature, warned us about this dynamic. He called it the shadow, the unconscious side of our personality that we repress, deny, and often fail to recognize even though it still acts through us. And when someone harbors hate, envy, or resentment, they may hide it, but not completely. Their words might say, "I care," but their unconscious is shouting, "I can't stand you." Today, I'm going to reveal 8 unmistakable signs that someone close to you secretly hates you, even if they act like your friend, even if they pretend to support you. And be warned, sign number 8 is the most dangerous. It can completely flip how you see someone you trusted for years. Let's begin. The first sign is contempt disguised as irony. Some people don't attack directly. They stab you with sarcasm. They make jokes about things they know hurt you. They tease, mock, and belittle you, then retreat behind a smile. When you call them out, they say things like, "I'm just joking. Don't be so sensitive. You know I'm just playing." But you feel it, the discomfort, the sting. If someone always jokes about the same part of you, your weight, your career, your values, and it leaves you feeling small, it may not be humor. It may be repressed hostility. Jung believed that what people reject in themselves, they project onto others. So if their sarcasm keeps targeting one side of you, it's probably a side they haven't accepted in themselves. Let's move to the second sign, backhanded compliments. This one is subtle. They might say things like, "Wow, I didn't expect you to do that well. You actually look good today. You're smarter than you seem." It sounds like praise, but it's poison, and your body knows it. You smile out of habit, but something in you shrinks. Carl Jung taught that the psyche is not just rational, it is intuitive. And when someone speaks with a double edge, your inner self feels the wound, even before your mind has processed it. These backhanded compliments often come from repressed envy. The person sees something in you they wish they had: beauty, talent, peace. But instead of celebrating you, they express it through subtle jabs. They want to appear supportive, but unconsciously, they want you to feel smaller. If you hear this kind of comment repeatedly, especially when you share your successes or show confidence, be careful. They may not be clapping for you. They may be waiting for you to trip. Now, the third sign is even more hidden, withholding support when it matters most. You go through something painful, a breakup, a failure, a deep fear, and they go silent. Or worse, they say nothing meaningful, then change the subject to themselves. This is an absence. It's emotional neglect dressed as neutrality. A person who secretly resents you won't comfort you when you're vulnerable, because deep down, they enjoy seeing you brought low. Jung would say, this is when the mask slips. In moments of real human need, the shadow becomes visible. Fourth sign, they celebrate your failures in disguise. They act surprised when something goes wrong for you. But if you watch closely, there's a flicker of satisfaction in their face, a tiny smirk, a too calm reaction, or even worse, they respond with fake sympathy. "Oh no, but honestly, I kind of saw it coming. I'm sorry, but maybe this will humble you a bit." Everything happened for a reason, right? Carl Jung would call this the shadow rejoicing, because people who can't accept their own wounds often envy your light. And when that light dims, even for a moment, their unconscious celebrates. They won't admit it. Maybe they don't even know they're doing it. But if you listen not just to their words, but their tone, their eyes, their timing, you'll feel it. This kind of person finds comfort in your setbacks because it makes them feel less behind. But now comes the fifth sign, one Jung warned about directly. They mirror you only to compete with you. This one is sneaky. They copy your language. They start doing what you do. They dress like you. They adopt your goals. At first it feels flattering. Then it gets strange. Suddenly they're trying to outshine you in your own field. They start comparing, competing, claiming credit. This is an admiration. It's shadow-driven imitation. Jung taught that when someone represses their potential, they unconsciously latch onto someone who embodies it. and try to become them. But the hate appears when they realize they can't. And so they begin to sabotage, belittle, or compete, not to grow, but to crush. It's not friendship. It's covert rivalry. Let's move on to the sixth sign. They act different when others are around. When it's just the two of you, they might tolerate you, even seem warm. But when you're in a group, something shifts. They interrupt you. They talk over you. They make subtle jokes at your expense and laugh louder than anyone else. Sometimes they'll expose things you shared in confidence, but say it with a smile, as if it's harmless. Jung would say this is the shadow trying to gain power, because in groups, these people feed on validation. And the easiest way to gain it is by undermining someone they secretly envy, especially if that someone is you. So if their tone changes in public, if their respect vanishes when others are watching, it's not a slip, it's a sign. Their persona, the social mask Jung described, is performing, and behind it, their contempt leaks out. Now let's talk about the seventh sign. They diminish your dreams. You tell them about something exciting, a new project, a personal breakthrough, a vision you're working toward, and they instantly shrink it. That's not realistic. A lot of people try that and fail. Why don't you just stick with what you know? They disguise it as concern or practical advice, but in truth, they're projecting their own limitations onto you. Carl Jung believed that many people fear the light in others more than their darkness. Why? Because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. So instead of cheering you on, they question you. Instead of supporting you, they plant doubt. It's not about your dream. It's about their fear of being left behind. And that brings us to the final and most dangerous sign. The eighth and final sign, the most dangerous of all, is this. They subtly encourage your self-destruction. They won't tell you don't grow. They'll say, just be yourself, even when yourself means staying stuck. They won't say, give up. They'll say, maybe you're just not meant for that. They'll never push you to evolve, because deep down they benefit from your stagnation. Carl Jung warned that some people unconsciously sabotage others, not out of cruelty, but because your evolution threatens their identity. If you grow, they feel they must change too. And most people fear that kind of transformation. So instead of attacking you directly, they act supportive, but always plant doubt. Always normalize the version of you that's playing small. These are the people who cheer when you play it safe, but go silent when you take a leap. They applaud your survival, but never your greatness. And often, they're the ones closest to you. A childhood friend, a sibling, a longtime coworker, someone who knew you before you knew yourself. And that's what makes it so dangerous and so hard to see. But Jung believed awareness is the beginning of liberation. When you see these patterns, you reclaim your power. You bring the shadow into the light. And you choose who stays in your life and who must be released. So now let's go deeper. Let's explore why these people appear in our lives in the first place. Because once you understand the unconscious contracts you've made, you can break them. Why do we attract people who secretly resent us? Jung believed that everything unresolved in us, every wound, every fear, every unhealed pattern, shapes who we allow into our lives. These are not accidents. They are reflections. If you grew up suppressing your voice, you might attract someone who talks over you. If you learn to downplay your joy, you may draw in someone who mocks your excitement. If you were taught to make others comfortable, you may keep close someone who thrives when you're uncomfortable. These people don't just appear randomly. They align with your unconscious beliefs about love, worth, and safety. Jung called this the psychic mirror. We don't just attract what we want. We attract what we are still unconscious of until we become aware. Because once you see the pattern, you're no longer trapped in it. That old friend who only calls when you're struggling, the cousin who never claps when you win, the partner who says they love you, but constantly erodes your confidence, they were never random. They were mirrors. And here's the hard truth. Some of us keep these people around because their presence confirms what our inner critic already believes. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I need to shrink to be loved. But Jung taught that true transformation begins when you confront the parts of you that tolerate what you don't deserve. So ask yourself, What does this dynamic reflect in me? What belief keeps me holding on to someone who clearly holds me back? Your answers are the key. There's a moment in every inner journey when you realize it's not about them, it's about you. Yes, some people do hide hatred behind a smile. Yes, some people resent your light, your truth, your becoming. But the real question is, why did I let them so close? Jung taught that what we deny in ourselves, we invite from others. If you deny your worth, you attract someone who questions it. If you silence your anger, you attract someone who provokes it. If you fear your greatness, you attract someone who downplays it. These are not enemies. They're messengers. They arrive to reflect what's still unconscious within you. But once you see it, you can choose differently. And that's where power begins. Because when someone close to you secretly hates you, you often start to hate yourself. Subtly, silently, you start to walk on eggshells. You question your joy. You water yourself down to make them comfortable. That is not love. That is trauma bonding. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So stop calling these patterns loyalty. Stop calling this dynamic friendship. It is not fate. It is familiar pain, repeated. And the moment you name it, you break the cycle. Let's now explore what happens inside you once you begin to let go of those who hide knives behind smiles. Letting go of someone who secretly hates you isn't just an external act. It's an internal reckoning. Because the moment you cut that tie, you face the silence they use to fill. You face the loneliness their toxicity kept you distracted from. You face the parts of you that allowed it for so long. And that's where the healing begins. Jung believed that the most profound work isn't external. It's integration. You don't just remove the toxic person. You reclaim the parts of yourself that were suppressed to keep them around. Your voice, your fire, your standards, your light. These people survived in your life because you dimmed yourself to protect their comfort. Now you get to shine again, but be prepared. When you rise, some will call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of betrayal. That's not your guilt. That's their projection. They're not angry because you're unkind. They're angry because you're no longer available for manipulation. Jung taught that becoming whole often requires letting go of the nice mask and choosing authenticity instead. And authenticity is disruptive. It makes insecure people tremble, but it makes you free. So if you've begun this process of choosing yourself, of walking away, you're not breaking anything. You're healing everything. Now you might ask yourself, how can I trust again? How do I know if the next person is real or secretly resents me too? That question comes from trauma, and it's valid. Jung would say, don't just trust others. Learn to trust your unconscious, because your body always knew. You just didn't listen. That gut feeling, that chill in your spine, that invisible pressure when they walked into the room. You called it overthinking. You silenced it to stay polite. You swallowed it to preserve peace. But that wasn't peace. That was self-abandonment. The next time someone's words feel off, trust it. The next time you feel drained after spending time with someone, believe it. The next time you notice subtle contempt in someone's tone, honor it. This is not paranoia. This is awakened intuition. Carl Jung emphasized that intuition is not mystical. It's the language of the unconscious. And when you ignore that voice long enough, it doesn't get quieter. It gets louder in anxiety, in depression, in self-doubt. But when you start honoring it, you become dangerous to the people who once controlled you. Because now you're alert. Now you see. Now you choose. And that's what makes you powerful. Power doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like walking away without explaining yourself. Carl Jung believed that when we confront our shadow, the denied, rejected parts of us, we stop projecting it outward. And that's where your healing becomes clear. Because maybe the real reason that person resented you is because they saw in you a freedom they denied in themselves. You spoke with ease. You loved without filters. You dared to rise. And their hatred wasn't personal. It was reflex. But now you understand. Not everyone who claps for you loves you. Not everyone who smiles at you sees you. Not everyone who hugs you supports you. That's not bitterness. That's maturity. You're no longer available for people who love the idea of you, but resent your reality. You're no longer willing to entertain those who applaud your pain and question your success. Jung said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. This is your awakening. No more doubting your instincts. No more shrinking to be accepted. No more making excuses for people who would never make room for your truth. Let them go and return to yourself. Let's go even deeper. Because when someone close to you secretly hates you, the real injury is not just their betrayal. It's the internal confusion that follows. You ask, was it my fault? Did I imagine it? Am I too sensitive? That's how shadow energy works. It infects your self-perception. Carl Jung said the unconscious isn't just personal, it's collective. And when you're surrounded by people who live in denial, who wear masks, who repress truth, you begin to gaslight yourself. You begin to mirror them, to abandon yourself the way they abandoned you. But the antidote is this: radical honesty. Name what happened. Call it what it is. Stop minimizing, spiritualizing, or justifying it. They weren't just confused. They undermined you. They betrayed your trust. They weaponized your vulnerability. And that's not love. That's manipulation. You don't owe them forgiveness until you've honored the impact. You don't owe them understanding until you've reclaimed your clarity. Because here's the truth Jung knew so well. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But you're different. You're facing yours. And that courage is what sets you free. There's something else Jung said that few people remember. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And sometimes, becoming who you are requires losing who you were, including the people who kept that version of you alive. You're not who you were when you tolerated passive aggression. You're not who you were when you explained away disrespect. You're not who you were when you confused attention with affection. That version of you needed survival. This version of you is choosing freedom. So if it feels hard to walk away from people who once mattered, breathe. You're not walking away from love. You're walking toward truth, because the more conscious you become, the smaller your circle gets, but the deeper your peace grows. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming whole. Not perfect, not accepted by all, just real. And real doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to be liked. It needs to be lived. So live it. Let your no be clear. Let your silence speak. Let your healing offend those committed to misunderstanding you. You don't exist to keep the peace that's killing you. You exist to embody the truth that sets you free. And now, the most important truth. You're not here to fix the people who secretly hate you. You're here to protect the parts of you they try to break. That version of you that hesitated to speak. That held back joy to make others feel comfortable. That questioned your worth after every backhanded compliment. That part of you deserves protection, not because you're fragile, but because you're sacred. Jung said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove them wrong. You just need to know, to see them clearly, to see yourself even more clearly, and to choose peace over proximity. Let them live in the confusion they created. You don't owe them clarity. Let them live in their silence. You don't owe them another conversation. You owe yourself protection. You owe your inner peace a safe place to grow. And if that means walking away from people you once called family, friends, soulmates, then so be it. Sometimes the deepest self-love is a door that closes and never reopens. There's one more thing we must face. Sometimes the person who secretly hated you was someone you loved deeply. Maybe it was a parent, maybe a partner, maybe your oldest friend. And that's what makes it hurt so much. Because their hatred didn't look like rage. It looked like indifference, criticism, control, conditional affection. Carl Jung warned us that unprocessed pain becomes a pattern. So if they never processed their own self-loathing, they projected it onto you. They made you the enemy of their own shadow. They saw your joy and felt bitterness. They saw your growth and felt fear. They saw your healing and felt rage. And you stayed because you thought you could heal them. But you can't heal someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. You can't love someone into wholeness if they haven't even accepted their brokenness. So now you must make a sacred decision to stop waiting for the apology, to stop waiting for the moment they finally see you, to stop proving your goodness to people who only feel safe when you're small. You don't owe them anything, not because they don't matter, but because you matter too much to keep bleeding for someone who never learned to stop wounding. This is not cold. It's conscious. It's not revenge. It's reclamation. And it starts with telling yourself the truth, even if it hurts. So now, what do you do with this truth? You let it transform you, because Carl Jung didn't teach awareness just to expose others. He taught it so you could liberate yourself. Now you see the patterns. Now you see the signs. Now you know what you didn't know before. And that means now you get to choose differently. You start surrounding yourself with people who don't just say they love you, but show it. Who don't shrink your dreams, but protect them. Who don't mock your wounds, but hold them with care. Who aren't afraid of your light, but inspired by it. These people exist. But you can't find them while you're still protecting those who secretly resent you. You have to create space. And that space begins when you say no to what once felt familiar, but never felt right. Let your intuition lead now. Let your boundaries be loud. Let your clarity be fierce. You are not hard to love. You were just surrounded by people who didn't know how. You are not too sensitive. You were just absorbing energy that wasn't yours. You are not imagining things. You are finally seeing things clearly. And that is the beginning of freedom. As you step into this new chapter, don't expect it to be easy. You will feel the pull to go back, to explain yourself, to give one more chance, to prove one more time that your heart was good. Resist it, because Carl Jung taught, we meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. And if you return to those who secretly hated you, you will meet yourself in the same pain, disguised as reconciliation. This is not a journey of proving. It's a journey of becoming. And becoming means leaving behind what no longer aligns. It means honoring your instincts, listening to your soul, choosing your peace even when it disappoints others. You don't owe them the old version of you. You don't owe them access to the healed you. You are not responsible for their perception. You are responsible for your protection. So bless the lessons, release the weight, and walk forward, not bitter, but clear. Clear on who you are, clear on what you deserve, clear on what you'll never again tolerate. That clarity is sacred. And now we return to you, not the person shaped by betrayal, but the one reclaimed through truth, the one who stayed kind in the face of cruelty, the one who didn't let bitterness swallow them, the one who learned to recognize false love and choose real peace. This version of you is powerful because it no longer needs validation to exist. Jung believed that wholeness comes not from perfection, but from embracing all parts of self, the part of you that missed the signs, the part of you that stayed too long, the part of you that wanted to believe in them. Don't shame those parts. Love them. They were doing the best they could. And now, you're doing better, not because you're harder, but because you're wiser. Now your circle is smaller. Your energy is protected. Your light is guarded. And anyone who enters now must meet you with truth, because you no longer tolerate anything less. That's not pride. That's healing. That's what happens when you finally become the person you were always meant to be. So if someone close to you secretly hates you, let them. Don't fight to change their heart. Don't beg for their understanding. Don't lose yourself trying to make them love what they've already chosen to resent. Carl Jung said, in all chaos there is a cosmos. In all disorder a secret order. Let their hate reveal your power. Let their silence deepen your wisdom. Let their exit mark your rebirth. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to destroy them. You just need to keep becoming louder, clearer, freer. Let your joy offend them. Let your peace confuse them. Let your rise remind them of what they buried in themselves. And let yourself finally rest, because you are not broken. You were being shown what no longer fits. And now you're choosing alignment over attachment, energy over history, peace over performance. You're choosing you. And that is the most powerful revolution of all.